Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 108 of the Whitey and Will Sports Show. Today is Sunday, May 26th, 2024. It's been a minute since we did one of these. Been a couple of months that we've taken off. We've got our reasons. Basketball season, mostly because we get to so many games, it sort of lends itself to a weekly show and us having a lot to talk about. With spring sports, uh, don't broadcast it as much. Just don't for life reasons, mostly because I'm on my own kids' stuff a lot. Don't get to as many games.
A lot of travel ball issues, family issues, and really by the time I leave work, most games are pretty well about done, Whitey.
We have just not been able to get together on this, but we thought super sectionals for 1A and 2A are tomorrow for baseball and softball. And so with a lot of local teams still playing, and then you throw in the Effingham softball team, they want a regional as well. So there's a lot of those teams still alive. And so I thought that'd be good to talk about. And the state track meets just happened, and especially on the girls' side, we had a number of good performances at the state finals in Charleston. So we thought we'd get together,
We had medalists.
get a little show put together, just a proof of life. Make sure everybody knows that we're still around, we're still doing this. It's just probably not going to happen as much outside of basketball season. But we do have a little basketball stuff to talk about too, because I mean we can at least have a brief conversation about the fact that Effingham's got a new basketball coach, so we can hit on that. But I don't know, true to form, I don't have a big plan here, Mike, but I do have those state track results in front of me, so I think we'll we'll
Let's
we'll
do
hold off
that.
we'll hold off on the baseball and softball. We'll hold off
I
on.
was going to check the Indy 500, Whitey. I'm in a pool where I picked three drivers at work. I know absolutely nothing about the 500, but I know last year I thought I had the thing won until about three laps to go. And
You
then
know
the
that it's
same with the Daytona 500. I don't know anything about auto racing, but I had the thing won, and my drivers got all taken out in that big crash with like a lap and a half to go.
Well, listen, there's a race going on, so you know more than I do. Okay.
Yeah, well, it started late. It started late because of the weather.
I just knew that there was some kind of NASCAR race happening yesterday because we sort of had to work around that as far as broadcasting the St. Anthony softball game. But speaking of St. Anthony, their girls team had a uh, really nice showing up in Charleston at the state track meet.
Mhm.
Had uh, had some podium finishes there for them, and unsurprisingly, Isabella Keller was one of those. She was a winner in the 3200. Not real surprising since she was a state champion cross country runner in the fall as a freshman, but she went out and won the 2 mile race by a comfortable margin, 22 seconds and change. She
Yeah,
won
that's
the
a
race
full
by.
straightaway. Well, half a straightaway if I'm chasing her. But
10:34:07 was her final in that 2 mile race, and the next closest was a young lady named Molly Farrell, a sophomore from Marshall, that was
right,
at 10:56. So not a real close 2 mile race there. Isabella Keller was the winner there, and then in the mile, she finished second by exactly 2 seconds to Elena Rybeck, a junior from Father McGivney down in Glen Carbon, who ran a PR in 4:54:07, exactly 2 seconds faster than Isabella Keller. And then Farrell, who had the best qualifying time at 4:58. She finished third in 5:03. So those were your top three, and then you got 6 seconds back before you got anybody else in there. But
that would have been a fun race to watch when you have that distance and you're that close. Really three runners fairly close.
and, and just
That'd been
looking
a
at
very entertaining race.
and just looking at the splits, it was basically that close the whole way. Ryback she was up by 4/10 of a second going into after the first 400. Um, she was still up by a quarter of a second or so. It got a little bit closer actually. Keller had a little bit better second split, second 400, but was still trailing.
So they were
Um,
shoulder to shoulder probably at the halfway point.
yeah, and Keller's third 400 was still a little bit faster, but we're talking like tenths of a second here, not like
So
by a
they're
whole.
either side by side on the bell lap, or one of them has probably a step lead over the other.
And then Ryback closed. She finished strong. Her final 400, final lap was a second and a half faster. So she did create a
She was
little
a
bit.
half second behind, so she was probably a couple steps behind.
So pretty good race, all things considered. And actually, Isabella was running third after the first 400 because Farrell was out front. Farrell was the front runner after 400 and dropped back during the second lap. So there you go. And by the way, Aubrey Denning, another freshman from St. Anthony, she finished ninth in that mile race. But
Does she get medal? Do they medal 10 in the mile?
I think they might put 9 on the podium. Actually, it's been a minute
Okay.
since I've been to the state track meet, but
Me too.
um, I do not know exactly how many people they put up there but I feel like 9 was the number that they.
Well, I had heard they got 6 medals, so that would make sense.
Now, Aubrey, her strength, of course, her big race is the 800, and she finished third there. Ran a PR in 2:12.9, which
Wow.
was just again less than 300ths of a second off of second place.
And
And
I
if
think that she also set a new school record, did she not?
that sounds familiar. I'm not gonna off the top of my head, I'm not sure, but that does sound right. I mean,
Well, and I think that was Margaret Smith, who won a state championship in 1980, was probably still the record holder. So that's impressive.
and Ryback was the winner of the 800 also. She finished that in 2:10 and 600ths. So a little less than 3 seconds ahead of Denning. But Aubrey did a really nice job, and she ran third in the prelims also. So that kind of made sense. Is that right? No, she ran fourth in the prelims, perhaps. I'm
Okay.
not sure. And kind of deciphering this. Uh, looks like maybe it was third, but anyway, she was right. She ran her final race a about 4 seconds faster than her prelim. So, she and apparently it was hot. That was the talk that it was a warm day on the finals.
Well,
So
and we haven't had any days in the 80s like that in a while. You know what I'm saying? There just hadn't been that many.
no, I do know that like Keller not winning the mile. That's the first time all spring that she hasn't won a mile race that she's run in. So
Okay.
and listen, she's run a lot of races. She's got a lot of personal knowledge and family knowledge. But I will say that you get out there and maybe you're getting pushed, you know, uh, a little differently than you have during the season. You can have all the strategy in your mind going into it you want, but I'm sure it's a different story when you're actually out there running it. Thinking about what you want to do. But it kind of sounds like it was just kind of just kind of two kids really going at it.
Well, I once heard a famous boxer say, "You can plan all you want, but it all goes out the window the first time you get punched in the mouth."
And that's yeah, and that's I I wasn't there. I didn't see it. Haven't seen video of it, so I can't speak real intelligently on this. But she that's her freshman year.
Oh,
So
I know. And
she's
then
got
her and Denning both are
yeah
freshmen.
plenty of races left to run, but good for
And
them.
then the 300 hurdles, um, and I forget which of the two Haney girls,
Liv
Liv,
Haney,
yeah,
she
and she's a
finished
sophomore. So there's two freshmen and a sophomore for your track team
yeah.
that got 5 of your 6 medals.
Yep, she finished eighth in the 300 hurdles. Did that was 48.19 seconds there. You had let's see, other St. Anthony pole vault, right? Pole vault
Yes,
for St. Anthony. Um,
Geen.
Allison Geen, who is a senior, she cleared 10 feet, 11 and 3/4 inches, which was good for sixth. You had a couple other people at that height, but one of them finished ahead, one of them finished behind. So,
Yeah. Go to the missus.
mhm.
She's going to Mizzou to jump.
Yep.
Good kid. Shout out to her dad, Mr. Green. If he hears this, he'll know and he'll chuckle.
Okay, so that was not a misspeak on your part. I assume
No,
it
no,
was a
no.
misspeak on
It's
somebody
been a
else.
misspeak on someone else's part for several years.
Well, you do have to admit that you go to another town, and I'm sure people probably see that all the time and think, well, that
That
must be
must
a
be a
typo.
typo. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, that's back in the day when you had shoddy print media. That was probably the case.
I'll tell you that leads me to a funny story that's not related to track at all, but when we were broadcasting sectional semifinals uh, down in Greenville this week, the venerable Rob Bothwell, the first base coach for T Town, when Greg went to get the lineup cards, he asked Greg if he needed a hand with the pronunciations on any of those Teutopolis names. Greg said, "No, I think I got it. I think you don't have to worry about me." But we do kind of. There's a lot of interesting ones around here that we're used to. We see it and we're like, "Oh,
Right.
that's normal." But anywhere else, people see
Oh
it
yeah.
and they do a double take. But you also had from Teutopolis, you had in the triple jump, you had Ella. It's Neelis, correct?
Correct.
Ella Neelis, Jr. finished third in the triple jump at
Mhm.
36, 2 3/4. So she
I've
was.
seen video of her jump. Oh my god. Why I couldn't make if I had 5 attempts, 5 jumps instead of 3, I couldn't get to where she gets.
And yet
36.
you had a couple of girls more than a foot further, like some
Yeah.
good numbers there.
Yeah.
But she finished third, so that's great. Unfortunately, for T Town, Caitlin Valling had got bit by the injury bug during the
2 years
prelims.
in a row. And you know, I've seen her probably at least 2 Sundays. We now, when we walk out of church, my wife's phone dings and says, 6 minutes to Nemergs. So it tells you we go to Nemergs too often after Mass for breakfast. And I've seen her and her family in there. I know her dad. She's got a brother who played golf for me last year as a freshman. And I've talked to him, while we're waiting for a table and such. And man, she was having a good year once it warmed up, that cold weather. And I know she's worked hard with Chet Reader, and a lot of athletes. That's one of the things, most people don't realize what Chet does to help every athletic program and his weight training program at T-Town. It's outstanding how that's made changes in all sports, male and female.
Mhm.
And then I saw their 4x4 didn't, or 4x1 didn't do well in the prelims. They didn't match their qualifying time from sectional. And I thought, And then, as they went on, then I saw her 100 because she had the fastest time going into the 100.
Yeah.
And she was dead last with like a 15 something. So I did run into one of her relay partners, relay team members, Hallie Bushu.
Mhm.
And she said, I think it was coming out of the corner in the prelims. She slipped or misstepped or did something and ended up tweaking her hammy. Thought she was okay to do the 100, which obviously she wasn't because she wasn't near what she would run. And I hate to see that because I think she had she had another issue last year. I don't remember if it was a hamstring or if it was an ankle or something. Um, but just such a good kid and had such, high hopes and was
Yeah.
one of the best 100 runners, one of the best 200 runners going into the finals. And you just hate to see that happen to a kid. You want to see him stand on that podium and get that medal and be a state champion. I mean, because she very well could have been. So I hate to see that, and shout out to her. And um, you know, it's
Yeah.
just that's the hard part about it.
Yeah, would have under optimal conditions, would have quite likely been walked away from that meet as one of the better sprinters in the state. Just
Yes.
in total across the board in the races she was going to run,
Yep.
and that's unfortunate for her. You work all season to get to that point, and to be on that track, you know, when it
You
when
get
it
one
happens.
shot. You get one shot.
Yeah, yeah, you hate to see it. I've seen it before.
I have
Back in
to.
the newspaper days, covering that meet, and it's I'll tell you, it's hard. It's hard to watch. It's hard to watch a kid deal with that disappointment. Um, and you feel for them, but that's, I mean, sports are
Sports
life
are hard,
lessons too.
man. They're
Sports are
tough.
life
I
lessons,
mean,
and life is full of disappointments, and I guess she'll have to figure out a way to use that, going forward.
yeah. I mean, it's just team sports are the same way. Think about how those St. Joe kids felt when Zach Nieberge hit that three. You know, I mean, it's one side of the gym, it's the greatest day in the world, and the other side, it's the end of the world. And individual sports, it's you. You're relying on yourself, and that's hard. Say, I don't think we didn't have any boys. St. Anthony boys made the finals of the 4x8. Um, and they set a school record, is my understanding, in the finals. Um,
Yeah,
I'm
ended up
relying on social media, so it may be accurate. I
they
think it
finished they finished 10th, and I mean, I don't know about school record PR. It's got a PR next to it. Elliot Frisbee, Noah Flagg, Isaac Fallert, and Julius Ramos were the team members.
Yeah.
820.81. Um, again,
I
10th
think I
place.
saw where Noah's mama's had posted that was a school record. That was
You know what?
that's what they wanted.
Every single team that was in there, uh, of the
PRs.
yeah, all 11 that finished the race, Winnebago got disqualified. But which, by the way, getting hurt would suck. False starting in the finals and would
Well, there could have been a relay exchange. There's a lot of things it could have been, or they could have been like me and just cut the corner off and ran through the grass or something.
and
I'm
I've
sure that would
seen
be a
I've
disqualification.
seen that happen with a local athlete years ago too, where they came out, false started in the finals, and that's, I cannot imagine the feeling, but yes, Anthony got 10th. I mean, that's they qualified 12th, so they did outperform that a bit, and ran a better time in the finals than they did in their qualifier, which is not surprising. Teams do that all the time. I mean, it's amazing what being pushed by the best teams in the state or the best athletes in the state can do to
Yep.
make those times a little bit better. So,
Yep.
um, yeah, I didn't. Obviously, on the girls' side of things, there was a little more going on. I feel like that tends to be the case around here, though. I don't.
Well, I agree with you. I think as the state track meet, you get more participants on the girls' side than the boys' side. You see it kind of at the junior high level as well. I know we had some junior high state champions,
Mhm.
and we didn't go through, and we kind of last minute put this show together. So
Yeah,
our production staff
put to
doesn't have our state champions at the junior high level.
put together is really pretty putting it pretty strongly. This is
I
put
do
together
know
was
though, I will give a shout out. I know in the junior high shot put, and I don't the young girl's first name. She's a Koenig from Effingham Central.
Junior high.
Junior high, that's what I said. Well, it's Effingham Central. Junior high was Central when I went to school.
Keegan Koenig.
Keegan Koenig set a state record in the shot put.
yeah. I'm looking
So
at
it wasn't just a state champion, a state record. And I'm sure her grandpa Dave was smiling up above on that one.
yeah.
She
That's
probably threw further than he ever could. That's the good part. So
I had seen that. I had seen that that happen. And yeah, I know we've got there's just a ton of kids that do that across the area, not
right.
just in
But I
town.
thought I'd give her a shout out because
Oh,
she
for
said
sure. No,
yeah.
lots of good track athletes out there.
Yep.
And I hope they stick with it. I know a lot of kids just do track in junior high, and then it sort of gets away from them when they get into high school. And sometimes that's because you gotta, I mean, it's hard to,
Well, and
You got to pick a sport.
St. Anthony's got another Haney coming who's been a state champion at least 6th, 7th, and 8th grade in at least one race. So she's pretty quick.
But I'm sure, there's pretty good possibility we've left somebody out of this conversation.
I'm sure we have.
And if we did, that's because Mike texted me at 2:30 and said, "We're gonna do a show today," and so here we are. That's the crack production that took place here. Was that? Shifting gears to the bat and ball sports.
Okay, you want to do softball or baseball first?
Let's start with softball, mostly because
You were there.
Well, yeah. So St. Anthony and actually Newton.
And
also,
I've seen more softball games than baseball games. So
is that right?
Yeah.
St. Anthony softball won a sectional on Saturday. They won that sectional in 2 one-run games that were about as different as they could possibly be.
You're exactly right.
They beat St. Joe Ogden 11-10 in a game where they had a 5-0 lead, blew that lead, trailed, and then came back and got a Addie Wernsing home run off of the scoreboard in left center field in the top of the 7th.
And the cool thing about that, on your broadcast, I could hear it hit the scoreboard.
Cool. She hit that ball hard. It was really windy that day. That ball was going to get out anyway.
Yeah.
And then yesterday, Saturday, which by the way, that game was supposed to be Friday. They pushed it back to Saturday because they got some pretty heavy storms in Monticello Friday. But they beat Normal U High 1-0. Okay. 1-0. For most of that game, St. Anthony didn't have a hit. They scored a run in the 3rd inning thanks to a couple of errors. And
I saw somewhere Vonderheid had a hit early in that inning. Was it scored an error instead of a hit? I know you're a pretty tough scorekeeper, Whitey. That's why I'm,
as I recall, there wasn't anything that I thought was.
Well, I saw they had 3 hits, and I saw somewhere it said Vonderheid had a hit in the inning. They scored a run.
Vonderheid led off with what I called an E6. I thought that. Okay. I don't know. To me, if it was a good throw, she's out. That's the way I saw it.
Friend of the show, Stacy Vonderheid. I gave you a hit from home, Stacy, so you got a hit.
And there could have been somebody with better eyes on it than me. I'm trying to talk and see it at the same time. So,
all right, Whitey, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Did she smear it?
You talk for 3 hours and sometimes you say something that I was trying to say at one point during a broadcast that somebody smoked a ball. I
know where you were going. I laughed out loud. And then I texted you.
Yeah, I know you texted us. And that was Wednesday. During the baseball games. Anyway, so top of the 3rd inning in this sectional championship game, Stacy Vonderheid leads off. Whether you want to call it a hit or an error, she hit a ground ball to shortstop and got on first base. And then Lainey Coffin lays down a sacrifice bunt. Third baseman throws it away. So you got runners at 2nd and 3rd is where that all rounds out.
Did Vonderheid think about scoring on the throwaway or didn't get that far?
No, because they did a really good job backing that play up, actually.
Okay.
So, it's more aggressive base running that got Coffin to 2nd base. But then Julia Schultz gets hit by a pitch. For the first of 2 times in that game. She didn't finish the game because she got hit by 2 pitches, and the second one must have dinged her up enough that she couldn't finish it out at 3rd base. So you got the bases loaded, and then you get Addie Rios up there, who hasn't played in weeks.
Oh, that's right. She's been out.
Yeah, that was her first game back in weeks. She'd been hurt. She strikes out, but then Addie Wernsing hits a fly ball to left field, deep enough for Vonderheid to score. And that's it. Next batter, Haley Nieberge grounds out to 3rd base. You get 1 run out of bases loaded, nobody out. Okay. But it stood up. And they did not. Again, they didn't have a hit, or by my scorekeeping, didn't have a hit until the 7th inning. They got a couple of base hits, but didn't score in the top of the 7th. But didn't give anything up because Sydney Kibler pitched as well as I've seen her pitch all season long.
Did she pitch into the 6th or the 7th?
She pitched into the 6th.
Okay.
So the way that Michaela usually does things, Michaela Taylor, the softball coach, Michaela Walsh Taylor, the softball coach for St. Anthony, um, the way she usually does it is that Kibler and Wernsing split time. Addie Wernsing
Right.
will finish the game. Kibler will start it. The way it generally works out is about 4-3. Starter
Yeah.
generally goes about 4 innings, and then Wernsing will finish the last three. It kind of just depends on how it's going and how far through the order they've gone. Whether they're facing the order for the third time or not. But Kibler pitched so well that she pitched the fifth, and then they brought her back out for the sixth. I think there was some discussion about what to do, but Kibler, Sydney walked the first batter she faced, and so at that point they made the change, and Wernsing got into trouble. Okay, after that, Kibler walked the first girl she faced. Then the next batter lays down a sacrifice bunt, and there's an error that allows her to be safe. Um,
So you got first and second, nobody out.
you then
First, yeah.
Well, you ended up with runners at second and third, though.
Okay.
It must have been second and third. That's right. Okay, second and third, nobody out. But then, while their number 3 hitter is up, Maddie Kibler, the catcher for St. Anthony, after a pitch, throws down to third base and picks off that runner at third base. Okay, that's your first out. And then that number 3 hitter hits a ground ball right at the shortstop for the second out. So you go from second and third, nobody out, to second base with 2 outs.
Okay.
Then a walk and a base hit, you're still dealing with the bases loaded, and you get a fly ball out to Lainey Coffin in left field. She makes the catch, inning over. And that turned out to be the biggest threat, although I will say that the game ended with a runner at third base for normal U High.
So was the girl on third just getting too far down the line?
It was a close play. I'm not going to say it was necessarily a bonehead play. I just think Maddie caught her off guard a little bit. There obviously hadn't been a runner at third base all game long. So, she hadn't had the opportunity to try that before, but it really,
Tough out. That's a tough out.
well, and plus you got a different third base. Was there a third baseman there, or was it Rios covering? I can't remember.
Covering behind the bunt. Who took over? Did Ganaway take over for third when Schultz came out of the game?
No, that's the thing. You had Niebrugge come in from right field to play third base, and Ganaway went out and played right.
Okay.
So that's how Schultz's injury was covered in that inning. But either way, Rios hasn't played in weeks. So whether she takes that throw or whether it's Niebrugge, I mean, it's somebody who has not been around much,
Right.
At least at that position, and so a lot of trust there. And then in the top of the 7th inning, you get a leadoff base hit. She ends up all the way at third, but Wernsing strikes out the number 1 hitter in the order for U High to end the game and leave that tying run at third base. And St. Anthony wins. They are going to play at Milliken against Auburn tomorrow, Monday on Memorial Day, for the super-sectional. And it's the 3rd time in 4 years that they've been in a super-sectional. And every time they've made it this far in that stretch, they've won and gone to state. It was in Class 1A a few years back. Then last year in 2A, they made it. So, they're a win away from a 3rd trip to the state tournament in 4 years.
Heck of an accomplishment. You got a real heavy group of seniors who have been a big part of the 4 years of the program.
Yeah.
And their thing, and I mean, you and I have talked off mic. Offensively, they're just so deep. I saw them win the second game. Actually, I saw the tail end of the first game of the City Series, and then I saw them win the second game. They hit 4 home runs, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know that the combo of Kibler and Wernsing were, dominant enough, because you're going to run into that real good pitcher who's going to hold you to one run, and were they good enough not, to give up 3 or 4 runs? And obviously they were. So
Yeah, I mean,
shout out to them. They did a
they
tremendous job.
they showed up, and I've only seen them, I don't know, 5-6 times this year, but every time, they've given up a little bit, I mean,
Yeah.
but their lineup is good enough that the pitching doesn't have to be perfect. But again,
Oh,
on a day when
you've got probably 7 girls at the drop of a hat can go yard.
well, I mean, listen, in the semifinals, you got, and again, Rios did not play in the semifinals.
Yeah, 3 homers, 1 inning.
Yeah, and it was the bottom part of the order. It was Vonderhyde, it was Coffin, Sydney Kibler hit one. She's more middle of the order, but still,
Right.
like there's a lot of teams out there, even good ones, regional champion type teams that are not going to
7,
have.
8, 6, 7 hitters can't go yard.
Yeah, for sure.
And they're T-Town, I know T-Town. St. Anthony's doing it.
Yeah,
They're good. They're good offensively. There's no doubt about it. And they play defense, and their pitching is doing enough to get them where they're at.
absolutely.
It's not a case where they're,
two things.
Kayla seemed kind of surprised they shut out someone to win the sectional.
Two things. Sydney Kibler, she's got a great changeup.
Oh, she throws a lot of changeups.
Yeah.
You keep thinking, okay, she's not going to throw another one. Oh, yeah, she did.
And I will tell you, she has an unorthodox delivery.
Yeah, she kind of slings it. It's not off her hip as like most people.
She comes around on the ball a little bit. She gets
like she's throwing a discus.
Yeah, she comes around her body a little bit. I don't, I mean, it's not textbook by any means, but she makes it work for her. That change, U-High was kind of making a little more contact with it early in the game Saturday than a lot of teams I've seen her face. And so I kind of wondered, second, third time through the order, if it was going to keep working out for her. If anything, it got better. She got worse swings out of them the second.
It's almost like she's got 2 speeds on it. She's got just a little off and then a lot off.
Yep. But she was great. I mean, and you just look at her face. I mean, the composure out there she's confident. There's no doubt about it. She believes in what she's doing. And then also a person who barely played in that championship game, but has been very important down the stretch for St. Anthony is Lily Ganaway.
Yeah.
Okay. Addie Rios gets hurt. That's your leadoff hitter and your starting shortstop. Obviously,
2 big positions.
And a very important person. And she was not asked to hit leadoff. She was hitting at the 9 spot. They just moved everybody up a spot. But she plays a great shortstop.
Yes, she does.
In the semifinal game, she made one of the best softball catches I've ever seen. She laid out for a ball, hit over second base, out into shallow center field. I mean, just as good a catch as you'll ever see. And that's a kid that wasn't starting, she's a courtesy runner.
She spent more time in the dugout than she has on the field because of who she's behind.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the team that they have. But when called upon, she did the job. She did it fantastically.
Yeah.
And as a team, I mean, they've just got so much talent, and here they are in 2A. They're going to be playing again an Auburn team that beat a very good Stanford Olympia club to get to the super sectional level. On the other side of things, Newton is going to play Carterville tomorrow down at Johnston City.
Carterville's pretty good. That'll be a good ball game. But I think you mentioned that you could have, or in our announcer text, that you could theoretically see a Newton St. Anthony's state championship, which would be kind of cool.
It's in the cards.
Dietrich would be like the dividing line. That'd be the Mason-Dixon line.
It's in the cards. There's a lot of work left to do.
I mean, a lot of things have to happen. They both got to win their next 2 games.
Yeah, you're down to 8 teams left. Heck, I mean, they could play for third place too, by the way, if they were both. Sure. That's possible also. But I mean, it's just quite an accomplishment either way. So
Yeah.
St. Anthony will be on familiar ground. They played at Millikan last year in their super sectional, beat Quincy Notre Dame, I believe it was. And at this point, why would you bet against them? You know, anything can happen, and I don't know anything about Auburn, so I'm not going to try and tell you that I don't have any prediction, but I'm not betting against them at this point. So
Right. And I get to go do that game tomorrow, Whitey. So.
yeah, you and Greg Sapp, you guys are going to go, and
Well, that means we probably get to eat at the Mount Zion McDonald's.
if you try hard enough, you can talk them out of McDonald's. All you got to do is get Mackenzie White happened to ride along with us on yesterday.
I can't believe she would open her mouth and ask for anything. I'm really shocked.
We drove right past the McDonald's in Monticello, and he said, "Should we just go there?" And she said she just, because she doesn't have the tact that, like, say her dad does, who just kind of goes along with the McDonald's. She said she really just didn't want to go. She just said, "No, I don't really want to do that." Then she fell asleep before we could get to Tuscola to go anywhere else.
I may play the Mackenzie White card tomorrow. I may say, hey, Mackenzie said, McDonald's, you're turning over a new leaf.
Well, you're going to be in Decatur. My advice would be to swing on over by La Gondola and get some garlic bread. That's my advice.
Yeah, that's messy in the car, and I don't want to stop and eat. So
okay. Well, anyway, that's
you guys get to go. If I'm you guys, I do Quattros in Carbondale and just eat it on the way home in the car.
now. We have to shout out the fact that we had another local team playing for a sectional championship in 1A. No, we had a team win a sectional championship. Windsor Stew Straws is still alive.
Yes, they are playing down at.
They're going to be playing down at Johnston City also.
Yep.
They play Trico, Campbell. It's Trico. Okay, everybody calls it Trico. Everybody knows that's. But they were a winner over KZ Westfield for a sectional championship at Alton.
That's huge. Anytime you beat KZ in softball, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I saw Windsor Stew Straws play in the NTC championship against St. Anthony. It turned out to be 8-4 in St. Anthony's favor, but Windsor Stew Straws had their chances in that game, to put a few more runs on the board. Really, after the opening inning, I thought that the elder Hayes girl, pitched very well. They just. It's not surprising to see them. The thing about them is that they ran into Altamont actually, and Altamont's got Grace Lemke, who's obviously a very good pitcher,
right?
And run ruled Altamont in that regional championship game. I saw that.
That kind of surprised me.
Yeah, I mean, because Lemke is not.
He's a pretty good pitcher.
He's not getting beat that way. Okay. Right. So then you get to Altamont at the sectional level, and Windsor Stew Straws beats South Central, another very good team. Beats them 10.
It's from that conference that just gets it done.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's just a lot of NTC schools in there. We've sung the praises of the NTC a time or two on this show, and they're doing it in softball. And anytime you beat KZ Westfield in softball, you've done something. It's that's kind of what they're known for. And it just looks like they're hitting the ball mostly. Like
KZ beat Windsor last year at I forget sectional level. I did that game on the radio last year, so
so they're they've got a chance.
Shout out to them.
They've got a chance to play in the state softball tournament.
Hey, that 2A regional, the St. Anthony T-Town game was a pretty close game versus
it was
in the year.
It was. T-Town hung real tough. T-Town gave St. Anthony all it wanted in the regional championship. It was a good game. T-Town's got a bright future. Very young team.
Got a lot of young kids.
Yeah, and by the way, the Boris girl that plays first base for them, I saw her dad Art at a function last weekend, and I did apologize to him because we called her Boris during the broadcast, but they're on the other side of the creek, so that's a Boris there. Speaking of young Boris kids that are good athletes, Austin Boris
Transition pitched well yesterday.
Quite a pitcher. He didn't pitch
Not
yesterday.
yesterday. I'm sorry. He pitched the first game in the
He
second.
pitched in the semifinals for T-Town. So T-Town and St. Anthony played yesterday for a sectional championship in baseball down in Greenville.
I'm sure there was a few people there.
And it turned out to be a real good game. Of course, neither one of us was there. Matt and Mason were there broadcasting that one, but it turned out to be a 2-1 win for St. Anthony. All the runs scoring in the last inning and a half of the ball game.
T-Town scored in the sixth, and then St. Anthony down to their final at bat, and the Hatton kid
led off
with a home run, which Matt and Mason thought Mitch Custer got a glove on it. Said even when he landed, he looked at his glove. He thought he had it. I saw someone else's account that said it was a no-doubter, so I don't know. I thought no-doubter meant it wasn't
I don't know.
Almost off the glove. So I don't know.
All I know is that Brady Haddon has hit either 8 or 9 home runs this season. And
now,
is
he right-handed or left-handed?
He is a right-handed hitter.
Okay.
One of the rare right-handed hitters on that St. Anthony team.
Yeah.
They've got a ton of right-handed kids that bat lefty. But Haddon's he's just a big, strong kid and finally healthy,
They're an offensive juggernaut, just like their girls softball team.
Yeah. That was the first pitch at the top of the 7th after St. Anthony. So, and St. Anthony's down to their last at bat here. So, and he just hits the first pitch over the fence. That's
right. And they beat T-Town like 8-2 earlier in the year, and they beat them in the fall. And I'm sure they're like, oh my God, now they're going to beat us in the big game to end our season. And T-Town, you knew, was going to show up different than they did earlier in the spring. And Garrett Gaddis, it sounded like, just was gutting it out on the mound.
Yeah. Listen, this doesn't really have anything to do with St. Anthony as much as it has to do with the respect that I have for Justin Fleener and the program he runs. But I had kind of been telling people, like, don't be surprised if T-Town wins that game. Okay.
Yeah.
St. Anthony's probably the more round
on paper, sure.
Yeah, probably the better team on paper, but don't be surprised if T-Town finds a way to win it, because that's just what they do. They beat Columbia in the semifinals, and on paper, they shouldn't have won that game. Columbia is one of the best teams in the state. So
there was a little sophomore out there that just Columbia didn't know what to do with him, and then relieved him with another sophomore to get the.
And Gavin Addis pitched a little bit yesterday too. So they're going to listen. T-Town is going to. They're not going to be any worse next year. I'll just put it that way.
You lose a couple good kids. Okay, you lose some good kids.
The pitching is going to be so good.
You got some sophomores who can play.
Yeah. Austin Boris doesn't look like a sophomore either. Like, it's not fair that a sophomore is put together the way he is and pitches.
Those Boris boys. I know he's. I don't know if he's a nephew. I don't think he's even a nephew to Art and Ben, but those two never missed a meal. So they're big boys. I
just don't remember ball players. I just don't remember baseball players being so physically imposing when I was in high school. Maybe I wasn't paying close enough attention, but there's so many kids that are just like phenomenal athletes. Like, and not to spend this whole time talking about T-Town, because St. Anthony won the game. They're going back to the super-sectional. They played in a 1A super-sectional last year. They lost to Goreville. But Brock Fearday was a stud yesterday too, okay? In that last inning, and they got another run in the top of the 7th. Hatton hits that home run. They scratch out another run. And then Brock Fearday goes.
Struck out the side, didn't he?
Yeah, and the thing is Brock Fearday, if you've seen him, he doesn't put up giant strikeout numbers. But, and Matt and I have had this conversation before, when he needs to, when it's time to go close the door, he goes out there and just shoves it right down your throat, or if you want to.
He throws a lot of strikes.
Yeah, and he can throw hard. Okay, it's not like he doesn't have good stuff, but he finds another level when the situation calls for it. and when he knows that it's time to just let's get away from the pitching to contact. I know I have a good defense, but also I'm just gonna go out there and close this down, and that's exactly what he did. Struck out the side. He was a strike away from a 9-pitch, 9-strike, 3-strikeout inning, the old immaculate inning. Threw out of the zone on 0-2, but then closed her down. And the thing is, at St. Anthony, they started Aiden Luritzen in the semifinals, and he pitched well for 2 2/3 innings, but then in a rundown play got kind of run over by the base runner going back to first base and had to come out of that game. And so
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Brock Fearday pitched exactly 60 pitches in that game.
So he could come back.
That was the threshold. That was the cutoff. And you knew it had to be, and you knew Tony Craik knew exactly what he was doing.
Oh, yeah.
He came out and got Brock with 2 strikes on what was potentially the last batter of the game for Columbia. But you knew that was the deal. Like with the days of rest and the thresholds that are in place for the postseason, which are different than the regular season, by the way.
Sure.
It works a little different in the postseason, but he knew exactly what he needed to do. And Joe Tegler came out and did what he needed to do to finish that game. But then Brock was able to come back. And my understanding is that Luritzen's fine. Luritzen's going to pitch tomorrow.
He'll pitch tomorrow.
And that's the thing for St. Anthony.
They got they have a 1 and 2. They have a discernible 1 and 2.
The big question mark coming into the season, I think, for them was not obviously they were going to score runs, but they needed to know where the rest of the pitching was going to come from. And Aiden Luritzen has answered that question pretty convincingly. He's a fine.
He threw a no-hitter in the City Series.
Yeah. Why is that little?
I did nothing. I didn't touch anything, Whitey.
It's listed.
Are we streaming live and someone's giving us a thumbs up?
Yeah, I don't know if it's something I said that triggered that. I didn't touch anything either. Anyway, hey, little treat for the people.
Yeah, the viewers.
But anyway, like Luritzen's answered that question. He's very good. He's only a sophomore. Speaking of all those T10 sophomores. But another thing I wanted to talk about was the last. The go-ahead run for St. Anthony in that 7th inning scored on a squeeze bunt from Max Koenig, who also laid down a successful squeeze bunt in the semifinals.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about that because Max hits 9th for St. Anthony, and as good as their lineup is, I mean, he's there toward the bottom, but being able to get that job done is something that I don't see a lot of people able to do anymore.
No, I agree with you. And
a lot of kids look lost when they try to bunt.
Yep. And they spend more time, and I don't hear it used as much now as I did 5 years ago about launch angle. It's almost like that term has lost a little bit of luster. But yeah, to do the little things. Let's be honest. If you spend time at it, bunting is not that hard. If you spend time at it, everybody, when you see, they want to jab at it. They want to jab at it. All you're doing is catching the ball with the bat.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I don't really care if major league players know how to bunt. There's fewer situations where it's necessary for them to know how to do it. But in a high school game, I think it's still a very important skill to have, especially kids in that lower portion of the order, because you come up in a 1-run game or a tie game and it's that part of your order and you get somebody in scoring position, like you need to be able to do your job. And against it, especially in a sectional, you're probably going to be facing a dominant pitcher, a very good pitcher. And sometimes the best contribution you can make is just to put that ball in play and get that run home that way. And yeah, it doesn't come up as much in professional and college games. I get it, but I still think it's a very necessary skill for high school kids to have. And you don't see as many of them able to do it. But again, he got the job done twice in huge situations for the Bulldogs. So,
oh yeah, heck yes. And and again, 2 great coaches going at it in the sectional championship. know them both, great guys. Saw Tony at church today, but he was on the other side. I couldn't say anything to him, but I was going to ask him if he was nervous. And then, you can't say enough about Justin Fleener. And yeah, them to be put in that position to win a sectional doesn't surprise me at all.
No.
And
No,
it's just, again, we're blessed in this area. And we got one more team we haven't talked about, Whitey.
Yeah, but just to kind of put a bow on that, I mean, yeah, I mean those guys do a fantastic job with their guys, and Justin just his. You look at this, what T-Town as a program has done while he's been there. It blows your mind.
Oh yeah,
Success that they've had, and they've had all sorts of different kinds of teams. They pretty
they've
much
had teams that hit the ball hard, and then they've had teams that relied on pitching, and then they've had teams that could do both.
and he just coaches the shit out of them. I don't really know what else to say. He just
I got to watch him when I was AD at a state tournament, and I just wanted to watch him off the field, how he handled the whole weekend, and just it should have been a documentary for coaches. Here's how you do it.
Well, he's got the right personality for it too.
Oh, yes, he does. He's a good guy.
The in-game stuff and the off-the-field stuff. I mean, and the kids just want to play for him. He does it all, and that's not taking anything away from Tony. Tony does a fantastic job. And listen, speaking of the 1A baseball, which you were trying to transition to, Altamont and South Central played for a sectional championship yesterday, and Kurt Jones is a guy that is much in the same vein as Justin.
He's probably the dean of area coaches.
Yeah, like just almost just so laid back that you would almost think that does this guy even care? But then you look and like the teams just win and win and win. Like he just
and they're sound.
And they didn't
win. Think about it. You've got him. You've got Coach Frex at North Clay. You've got Justin. You've got Tony Craig. And I know you've got a lot of other great coaches in the area, but those four are usually the first four people talk about. Mm-hmm. And three of them have a state championship on their resume.
And Kurt and South Central did not win yesterday. They were defeated by Altamont 5-4. So Altamont is actually the one that makes it to the super sectional.
Yep.
I think Altamont, you look at last year and this year, they could have seen themselves playing this deep last year, but you ran into a St. Anthony team that you fought tooth and nail in a regional championship.
Regional championship. Heck yeah. St. Anthony got moved up to 2A a year too late for the folks from Altamont.
Yeah, but the thing is, if Altamont manages to scratch out the win against St. Anthony last year in a game that could have gone either way, they probably make it to a super that St. Anthony did. But listen, they get to go this year, so they're going to be at Carbondale as well. So Matt and I will be down there. We'll have a doubleheader because Altamont will play Hardin County in the super sectional for 1A, and then St. Anthony is going to be playing. They're going to Mount Carmel. I don't, and again, I can't, I don't know anything.
Anytime you beat Mount Carmel in anything, you give yourself a self high five.
It's a sports community that I think, in my humble opinion, has lent itself to taking some enjoyment and defeating them. That's just
you used one word there that is not used very much in that community.
Well, we'll just move on. But
that's fine.
St. Anthony plays. So 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock are the.
So what time are you guys leaving tomorrow?
I got to meet Matt. I'm meeting Matt in Edgewood because when we go south, we meet at the Edgewood Legion usually. Okay, that's where I park my car. Okay. 6:45 a.m. is when I'm meeting him down there.
Oh man, Whitey, here's the thing. You're kind of I got an early wake up, Whitey. I'll be on a 3-mile walk at 6:45.
Well, listen, I get up that early most days. It's not that I don't. It's just I don't usually have, that much ahead of me either. Like usually I'm just going to go to the office and sit in front of my computer. Like it's
all right. So you need to order a Quattros and you get it on the way home. And if you order it early enough, it can be just cool enough you can eat it in the car.
I've been to Carbondale a number of times. My sister went to school there for a while, but I have never had Quattros.
Oh, Whitey, I'm telling you, It's good. My son always took us there every time we went down.
And we can't speak in as much detail about Altamont defeating South Central 5-4 because we were not present, didn't have any station there covering it. We didn't have the resources available,
I know.
Especially once the St. Anthony softball game got moved to Saturday.
Right. And I had to, and I just, it didn't make sense for me to miss work. We were shorthanded. And I'll tell you what, Mason did a tremendous job.
Yeah, no, Mason Robinson does great with helping.
Probably Wally. He, to be honest, he's probably Wally pipped me on baseball
games. He's going out of town though pretty soon.
Oh, is he? Okay.
He's apparently
he's supposed to today. Greg said something about today. So
yeah, he's got summer ball to play, so his availability is drying up. But one thing with that 1A, Father McGivney also won their sectional.
They're pretty good.
That's notable because they and it's kind of interesting. They're going up to Springfield to play in a super sectional against Jacksonville Route. But that is one of the few teams that beat St. Anthony this year. But that was a crazy finish. A weird game that went, I believe, 11 innings and ended bizarrely. I saw video of it. There was a weird base running play where a kid, I guess, thought that the game might be over or something and started to run toward the plate and then realized he was still a live base runner and ran back into the baseline. And there was a lot of the rules wonks were going on about whether he should have been called out or not. I think most of the people who know the rules pretty well seem to agree that he probably should have been safe. But it was upsetting at the time for the St. Anthony fans. I guess they probably don't care anymore. But yeah, they're still alive. They were at the time the number one team in 1A, I think, probably still are. But I don't know about this Hardin County team Altamont plays, but I'm just glad that they're there, and I'm glad that we get to do broadcast
doubleheader, and you're in a good facility, and the weather sounds like it's going to cooperate tomorrow.
And kind of backtracking to the St. Anthony softball, they still haven't lost a game to a team that's their size yet. They've lost 3 games this year, and one was
Bourbonnais beat them a doubleheader?
Yeah, Bradley Bourbonnais beat them twice in a doubleheader. That's a 4A team, and those were 2 close games, by the way. They were competitive games. And then Effingham's the other one.
Beat them the 3rd game of the City Series.
And Effingham, by the way, is a regional champion, and so they're going to play. Tuesday. They're going to play in the Waterloo sectional Tuesday.
So you get to go to Waterloo Tuesday.
It's not the first time I've been to Waterloo, and I know you've been there before because Waterloo Jabot used to be on the St. Anthony boys basketball schedule.
Yes. I don't know that we actually played them there. I think we played them 1 year at St. Anthony. I had to go there to scout them, and I thought I was in Arkansas before I found the gym. And our golf sectional was there, and now you see you rip the Band-Aid off. The worst run golf sectional or golf tournament period I've ever been to.
Well, Tuesday at Waterloo. This is baseball. No wonder I can't find it. Tuesday at Waterloo. Effingham is going to be playing Freeburg at 3:00.
Are they the Pretzels, or is that the one up north?
Isn't Freeburg the Midgets? Yeah.
Yeah, they're the Midgets. What's the other one then? Someone's the Pretzels.
I don't. Yeah, I know there's an Illinois team that's the Pretzels, but
I thought there was one of them is like Freeburg and one's north and one's south.
Freeport.
That's the other one.
Yep. Yeah, Freeburg is the Midgets, though. That's Freeburg.
That'd be a tight strike zone if they're playing Midgets.
Effingham.
That'd be like going to an 8U game.
Yeah, I've seen a few of those. Lately, but Effingham won its regional over Salem 9-1.
Yeah, I saw that.
3 home runs hit in that game, I believe. Yeah.
I saw Armstrong, and I saw she set a record for most homers in the season.
She had like 12 home runs this season. So
I think that breaks Hope Collier's record. I saw Hope hit like 11 1 year when Morgan was playing back in the dark ages.
I know Riley Engel was another one of those that hit a home run.
Yeah, and Alyssa Martin.
Yeah. They've got.
I just like watching Alyssa Martin. I don't care if she's playing basketball or softball. I enjoy watching her play.
She's hard nosed.
Huh?
She's hard nosed.
And she carries herself like She has confidence.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yep. That's such a
Kind of
big.
like Mackenzie White in the play, Whitey. I heard she was phenomenal.
She did a good job. She sang at church today too, and knocked that one out of the park.
The Wilson girls went to see her, and I think I had to take a nap and was unable to go, but they came back with rave reviews.
Yeah, I went to all 4 performances, and
Well, I understand that.
it was better every night. She's a
I think my kids were in 4 different plays over the years, and I went to 4 performances.
Well, it was actually more enjoyable than I thought to go 4
Yeah,
times.
no, and yeah,
'Cause those
tell her
kids-
big shout out. I heard she did awesome.
Yeah, but yeah, Effingham, they beat Salem 9-1. Baseball team lost to Salem yesterday in a
Yep,
region.
saw that. Lost regional final.
Salem was they were a 6 seed, so they upset some people to get there.
Well, they beat Matt Toon in one semi, and then which was a close game, and then they hung like 5 runs, maybe in the 6th to make it a 6. It was like a 1-0 game, I think. So as our very first guest told us a long time ago, teams from this area make deep runs, and someone makes a deep run in everything, and we've seen it in every sport.
We've got a potential to have 4, 1, and 2A baseball and softball teams in Peoria this weekend.
Oh yeah.
I mean, logistically, I don't know how we're going to work that from a broadcasting standpoint, but
where do the boys play?
they play at the minor league park there in Peoria.
Oh, they do. That's right. That's right. I knew that. Yeah. I knew that. So yeah, they play. So it's really, you're not that far apart from that in the complex in East Peoria.
Yeah, no, it's not bad, but I don't know how it will all work. We'll just hope that that's a problem that we have to deal with.
Yeah. Well.
Okay. We were going to try to keep this quick, and we're like an hour and 15 minutes now.
And when you tell me it's going to be quick, people say I'm long-winded. No.
We can't not talk. We cannot not talk about Mack Thompson, though. Okay.
Oh yeah, that's right. We got to bring that up.
I mean, we don't have to go. We don't have to go really in depth, but let me tell you a quick story. I was at a softball game this year, broadcasting it, getting ready to broadcast it, and I saw an Effingham staff member who I will not name to just protect him here, but not that he needs protection from anything. But I just said to him, I was like, "Hey, we're gonna find out about a boys basketball coach at some point. Like, it seems like things are gonna have to happen pretty soon." And he said, "At this point, don't be surprised if it ends up being Mack Thompson. That's just my gut. That's just my gut feeling." And that's what they ended up doing. He's going to be the athletic director, of course. And typically speaking, he's the new athletic director replacing Dave Woltman. He and Vince Rohr are tag teaming that job. They're going to replace Dave there. But usually you don't see an AD and coaching a varsity sport, especially
at a larger school, a main varsity sport. Yeah. And I guess my take on the whole situation, and I'm not the most politically correct person in the world. Mack's a good coach, but I don't think the initial plan was that.
No.
Okay. It came out of necessity.
I don't think he I can't speak for him, but he didn't take the job as the AD at Effingham thinking that he was going to end up being the boys basketball coach. I can't imagine that was in the back.
And I agree with you 100%. But it is what it is, and he does a good job. So it'll be interesting if this is a kind of where it is. I just tell you, it's hard. It'll be hard on him. It'll be more added to Vince Rohr's plate. More added to principal and assistant principal at the high school, Tony Pohl and Kurt Roberts, because in the past, Dave Woltman, you're in charge of supervision and all these things. And now, hey, there's a fan. Hey, we're going to call timeout so I can go get this fan shut up and take it out of the gym.
It's not going to happen that
way. We don't have those options. So, no, it'll be interesting.
I mean, you got to figure, and again, we don't have any inside information on this, but you have to figure, obviously, Effingham's boys basketball is in a difficult place. They have struggled the last couple of years, which is why there's a new coach coming in the first place. you would, I guess, think that Mack's job here is to try and stabilize things a little bit, get it in a little bit
Stabilize and build. I mean, you've got one of the
and
things with Andy Johnson pushed real hard for this lower level, um, fifth and sixth grade program. Yeah, you had those levels in the past with Effingham, but it was kind of different than those lower levels, maybe at T Town, and kids playing certain things. Um, it's the difference. I think the whole key is to lay the groundwork for a program because it's a program. Chet Reeder has said more than one time on broadcast and other times I've heard him talk, I inherited a program. He's never said I built a program. Chet knows what he inherited, and it's at levels. And that's why people say, oh, T-Town's going to be down this year. Holy crap, they're playing in their fourth super-sectional in the last 6 years, It's a program.
Mhm.
And that's what Effingham basketball has to get back to. And it's not easy, and it's not going to happen overnight. And that's probably the biggest thing. And I know some people whose names were bandied about to possibly be a coach, and maybe they didn't feel like they had the time to build a program. Or you come in and you're not successful because you're trying to build the program, and it's
not successful by a wins and losses standpoint.
right, and which means sometimes the vocal general public who enjoys social media blasting someone because they use a username of Skippy's dog or something, um, and it's just as things slowly change, and they will change, and the program will begin to, then the interest will come back. And when I say interest from potential coaching candidates, oh, well, they should have come. Well, people, I know a person that a lot of people were anxious in trying to get to do this. And where he's at, he's built a program. He has a very good program. He doesn't want to go build the house again. He's living in a nice house.
Yeah. I mean, that's the way I see this, and I don't have any inside knowledge, but it feels like, yeah, that's going to be Mac's job, is to get this to a place where somewhere down the road,
He's got the foundation. The foundation has to be laid.
So somewhere down the road, the AD is not coaching anymore.
I agree.
I mean, who knows? Maybe they'll find a way to make it work, and he won't want to step away, and they won't want to make him step away.
Well,
but that's
and they still have to hire a JV coach too.
Yeah.
So and that's going to be an important person.
Yeah.
And
obviously, Vince Rohr's had some experience coaching basketball too, but
yeah, but when he's the AD at the junior high, now you can't pull two ADs.
Oh, that's a joke.
Yeah.
You can't.
Oh, I know. I'll tell you what about Vince Rohr. He worked his butt off at our Christmas tournament. We kind of had to indoctrinate him in, and now we're seeing it was a good idea since Mack won't be really helping as much.
Yeah,
as Dave Waltman did, because Dave worked his butt off, and we got to give Dave a shout out. 28 years as AD. He had a few years of that at St. Anthony as AD and coaching, and he followed me. We were on the staff together a little bit at St. Anthony when I was just leaving there as a teacher coach. My first stint there on the Dave Bartlett coaching tree. So I've known Dave a long time. And I'll tell you, people don't realize the amount of hours that are put in. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, they're there all the time. There's all sorts of details, and it'll be weird to walk in there at Effingham High School and have somebody besides Dave taking care of us, but
yeah,
somebody will, because they do things the right way at Effingham.
Oh yeah.
and it'll be fine. It'll just be,
And you want to see where the Flaming Hearts are relevant again.
and that's the goal. Just get that train back on the tracks and get it going the right way. And it's an experienced varsity coach that you got coming in there to do it. And I'll be anxious to see how it goes, but it's going to be work. It's not going to be easy. There's
No, and that's the thing. That's the biggest thing. And it's just, people have an opinion over everything. I heard some feedback from his initial meeting with kids and parents, and no, you go with a blank slate. Don't even question anything. That's the biggest problem. That's the biggest problem. There's no buy-in from the amount of people that need to buy in.
yeah.
That's the biggest problem you have with a established program and somebody wanting to be a program or trying to build a program. And I know people in the last year who have reached out to chat readers saying, how do you get the buy-in? Well, you need to go back and talk to Lawrence Carey.
I was going to say,
or J.H. Griffin, because it's been,
the buy-in happened generations ago.
You had J.H., you had a couple guys, then you had Lawrence, then you had Crawford, come on.
T-Town's not a program that anybody should look at and be like, how do we replicate that? Because it's a great, and I'm not saying that because it's not good. I'm just saying because you can't just push the T-Town button and make it happen. Like that.
And the thing in basketball, if you're trying, because I know coaches who've tried to replicate it. Okay, well, we're going to do this. Okay, X's and O's is not replicating a program. It's the community.
Yeah,
it's the close ties in the family. It's the support.
That place is just sort of an anomaly as far as I'm concerned.
It is.
You can't look at them and say, we just need to do it the way they do it, because you probably can't. Let's just face it.
We can do this. We can condition like they do. We can run defensive drills like they do. Hey, wait a minute. Our ninth player in the rotation, his parents bitch all the time about not getting playing time. Okay, well, there's a gap. It's just, and it's not what it was at T-Town 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 30 years ago. Okay, it's changed a little bit, but it hasn't changed as rapidly as many schools in the area.
Yeah, I'll just put it this way. That ninth player in the rotation on the basketball team at a T-Town sticks around and works hard and continues to contribute to the program. A lot of other places, that kid just quits. Says, you know what?
Or he's the fourth or fifth or third player at a lot of places, but you don't get as much behind the scenes public grumbling.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. We could go off on another hour-long tangent on that at least, but
I've been behind the curtain, so
yeah. I see some of it too, not to the same level you have, of course, but
and I'm not saying people don't question things, they do. No, there's no doubt about that. However, it's not at the level as 95 to 8% of the schools.
Yeah, and I think it's healthy. It's healthy to be skeptical or question. It's just how that manifests itself.
Right.
Do you just, do you go on your Facebook page and, write a manifesto about it? Or do you just compartmentalize it and realize that if you don't like the way the thing is coached, then you're more than welcome to apply the next time the job's open and see if you can do better. And most of those, obviously, it's a lot easier to write a Facebook post than it is to actually do a job. And so you get what you get. But, as somebody who has now got a kid that is starting to play school sports, and I'm in the bleachers sometimes,
Hear a lot of interesting. There's a lot of smart people in the bleachers, Whitey.
I have to remove myself a lot of times.
I didn't set by people. I
No.
can't do it.
It's difficult for me because I am so used to watching sports through a impartial lens, I guess, for the most part, like not being particularly invested in the outcome, but just sort of seeing it as it happens and telling people to the best of my ability how it happened without letting the way I wanted it to happen cloud my vision. I'm having a hard time with the being a parent and, listening to other parents who are watching a completely different game unfold.
I love the parent who bitches about every call that goes against their team, and then when a blatant missed call gives them the benefit of the doubt. I once asked a parent, "Are you not going to bitch about that? That was an obvious foul." Well, no, it benefited us. I said, "Oh, okay, just
Yeah.
check."
Yeah. And it feels like it's worse than it ever was, but maybe that's just, we tend to do that to say things are as bad as they've ever been. And quite
I
frankly,
know.
they've
Hey,
probably
let's put a bow on it because
Let's
it's
do it.
an hour and a half, and you said
I'm
we're going to
hungry.
be short.
I'm hungry. Yeah, this is not short, but you know what? It's
All
been
right.
a minute. So
Hey,
we're
be safe out there. There are
yeah.
some colors coming right up the old I-70 corridor, baby.
Yeah, well, we'll see if the batting cage we got set up out back stands up to the winds if we get
I
that.
hope you got it tacked down.
Well, we spent some time reinforcing it today, but let me tell you something.
Hey, this is going to be a good test.
It's a lot easier for me to throw my son a bucket of balls now than in there than it was when we used to have to go out in the open lot and chase
Yeah,
them.
you don't chase as many.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right. Well, yeah, be careful. We'll have a good trip with Greg tomorrow to the softball super sectional. Matt and I will have the baseball. And yeah, if anybody should happen to catch this before Memorial Day at 10 a.m., turn on your radios, 97.9.
Hey, I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to predict the Cardinals sweep the Cubs because I don't think they're going to play tonight. So they've already won the one game, and I think it's a sweep.
Well, that'd be all right. The less said about Major League Baseball, the better. Right now, I'm having a little.
I know. Cardinals have finally started hitting, and we just got to find a fifth pitcher and hope the fountain of youth keeps our three aged veteran starters at least competitive.
Braves are getting the best of innings from Chris Sale, so I'm just wondering when
Didn't one of your, was it Acuna that got hurt?
Acuna went down, non-contact injury on the base paths today, so we're still waiting to hear about that. But it's not a great thing. It's the other knee, not the one that he missed a season with.
At least then he'll have more balance.
He hasn't been hitting this year anyway, so quite frankly, it doesn't feel as bad as it probably should.
I understand that.
But anyway, yep.
All righty, brother.
All right, hey, good to talk to you, and we will do this again sometime. We don't know.
I thought I was going to have to introduce myself.
Yeah. Not quite that bad. Just send me some more snarky texts while I'm trying to work on these. All right. Well,
the best part is you acknowledged it. That was the best part.
Yeah, we talked about you a little bit.
I know.
It was the nicest things, but we did. So, all right, we'll talk to you later.
See you, Whitey.
Yeah.